Hello, it is Thursday, November 25th, 2021. I'm Chris Remo, and welcome back to my New York Times Crossword Daily Solve. It's Thanksgiving today in the United States anyway, so happy Thanksgiving if you are in the United States or elsewhere if you're celebrating it there nonetheless. We're going to have a Thanksgiving for our British friends. Well, not all British, but our friends here in Britain on Saturday. So that'll be fun. Looking forward to that. But today, no turkey for me today, just a crossword. And I'm hoping for a highly themed crossword because we had a fairly ambitiously themed puzzle yesterday on Wednesday. And Thursday is really the day that's supposed to have the big, complicated, ambitious theme. So I'm wondering if we'll get something even more ambitious or impressive as a bit of compensation for that. We'll see. But first, I'll briefly mention the new Twitter account at The Daily Solve on Twitter if you'd like to follow that for daily updates about this series, and the Patreon campaign at patreon.com/dailysolve. There's a link in the description field underneath the video, of course, and there you can find a wealth of bonus video solves of all sorts. There's the monthly New York Times bonus puzzle, which I solved recently, just a couple days ago for November. That was the November No Shave theme this month. And the weekly mini puzzle speed solves. Those go up generally every Friday or Saturday. And the Boss Words Fall Themeless League competition puzzles, which unfortunately I did record this week, but the video is corrupted or something. I can't get it to play back. So I don't know. I'm still deciding what to do about that, whether I just skip this week or do a sort of retrospective recording. Maybe I'll try doing that. Haven't tried that yet with a Buzzwords, but we'll do it. Anyway, it was a very tough puzzle this week. And finally, there's the Daily Solve Discord chat server where you can hang out with other members of this community. Every day there's a thread about that day's New York Times puzzle, but there are also other channels about other crosswords and other puzzles and crossword construction, which is nice. There was a very fun and completely ludicrous E-word theme crossword that I think Cody constructed over in the Discord chat server. It's ludicrous and worth your time if you want to spend a few minutes solving a preposterous E-word themed crossword. Anyway, you can get an extra channel in there as well if you back the Patreon campaign. So let's move on to some clues from that highly themed Wednesday puzzle. I found yesterday's puzzle to be certainly a little more challenging than a typical Wednesday puzzle. And I think that opinion was shared certainly by others in the Discord chat server, speaking of that. And so, not surprisingly, there were a few things that bore some additional explanation for me. Brian D. explains that MPEG, M-P-E-G, the file format, stands for Moving Picture Experts Group, just like JPEG is Joint Picture Experts Group. I absolutely love that that's experts and not exports. When I saw this comment originally a few minutes ago, I think I read it as exports group, and I thought, well, that makes sense. You export a video or a picture. But no, it's the Moving Picture Experts Group. I find that somehow hilarious. All right. Kathy Swope confirms that there is indeed an E-boat, speaking of E-words, a class of fast German boat ranging in size from a patrol boat to a torpedo boat. And that, I suppose, non-submergible, contrasting the U-boat, which is, of course, the submarine. Bradley confirms one of my guesses that Omaha is indeed a set of poker rules. Omaha Hold'em is similar to the more popular Texas Hold'em, except each player is dealt 4 pocket cards instead of 2, though they must use exactly 2 of them in their final hand when combined with 3 of the community cards. Bradley also points out this was definitely a more difficult than normal Wednesday puzzle for me, clocked in a few minutes longer than my average Wednesday solve, and Laura Sexton replied to this comment saying, interesting information about Omaha poker rules. I was scratching my head over that one. I was too. The clue was something to the effect of, I think, Omaha stake, S-T-A-K-E, and the answer was bet. So a stake in this case, an Omaha Hold'em poker game. And let's see here. Vice Dibley, this is something that I should have remembered but didn't,
Bice Diddley says a cote, C-O-T-E, in the U clue, E-W-E, the sheep. That clue refers to where you keep sheep rather than a group of sheep. It's a generic word for a place to keep animals, a dovecote being a specific example, but I think it is quite antiquated at this point. Yes, that is true, and I should have thought of it that way. A dovecote, also a sheepcote, similarly, a sheepcote, where the sheep are kept. And I don't know that I've really heard it used alone as just a coat as opposed to a dovecote or a sheepcoat, but that's what that is. I absolutely missed that during the solve. And finally, this wasn't a correction. It was just I thought a fun note from Kals Wilkinson Saldana, who writes regarding the theme of the puzzle. I grew up with my dad's pico de gallo perpetually in our fridge and was thrilled to find it in the solve today. However, my heart broke slightly at the exclusion of cilantro. I went digging in the constructor notes and was pleased that Brandon acknowledged the situation. My apologies for the sloppy knife cuts and snubbing of delicious cilantro. And back to Cass. The interplay of cilantro and lime is a singular pleasure in life. I wonder how a cilantro rebus would function. Yes, I agree. In fact, I think when I was trying to imagine what else could fill in the theme answers in that puzzle before I had solved it all, I had mentioned cilantro, or as it's referred to in the UK coriander, as a common ingredient in pico de gallo, and that's I very much enjoy it. The Cass investigated and found that the constructor was apologetic about the lack of inclusion. That's very good. And yes, cilantro and lime, tough to beat. All right, let's move on to today's puzzle. This is a Thursday crossword, of course, constructed by Chase Dittrich and edited by Will Shorts. Going to get right on and start solving it, I suppose. Let's go. A builder of a papery nest. Builder of a papery nest. No, papery. Not quite sure. Down we have join. Could that be wed, maybe? Does that help? A wren? Does a wren build a papery nest in particular? I'm not sure about the papery qualifier. That obviously means something specific, but I'm not sure what it is. Anyway, this must not... Oh, a wasp. Oh, right, wasp nests. Yes, now that I think of that, I couldn't necessarily explain to you what a wasp nest is, but it seems right that wasps build papery nests. And here we have Han Solo claims to have made the Kessel Run in less than 12 of these parsecs from the original Star Wars. And a kerfuffle could be an adieu. Breaks curfew, maybe. Could be stays out, maybe, although that doesn't look great here, does it? What is this? Hairspray mom. Yeah, I don't think so. Maybe not stays out, but sneaks out, because then we could have Hairspray Mom, which is Edna. Never seen Hairspray, but Edna sounds like an appropriate name for it. And a go-getter is a doer, so that looks right. A cold-blooded killer. So the surface reading here would be the metaphorical meaning. A person killed someone else in cold blood. But I think, in fact, this is literally looking for a killer that is physically cold-blooded, physiologically cold-blooded, not metaphorically, an asp, a snake. And blank tour is capitalized, so this is a proper noun. PGA Tour, I suppose, Professional Golfers Association Tour. And win at the Olympics, / cheap jewelry material. So is this a word that could mean either of these things? We have a G, gold. Gold is involved in winning at the Olympics and jewelry, but gold is not a cheap jewelry material. Fake gold? Could you have said to win at the Olympics by faking gold? I don't think so. Take gold would be win at the Olympics. I bet we've got a rebus going on in this puzzle. So, let's see. So the rebus, this came up in yesterday's puzzle, and I realized I didn't really explain it. A rebus, at least in New York Times crossword terminology, is a process by which you can enter an arbitrary number of letters into a single crossword cell. And I think that is what we're doing in today's crossword. I think we're going to put T and F into this cell, and that means we can use, depending on the sort of Schrodinger property of this cell, the cell is both a T and an F, and depending on which way it resolves, it means either to win at the Olympics, to take gold, or a cheap jewelry material, fake gold, T or F. So does that also apply? Yes, it does. So now on the down, we have lag behind and weak, which lag behind is trail and weak is frail. So here we go. And I wonder, so the thing I don't yet know is whether, excuse me, is whether the other examples of the theme answers in this puzzle are going to share these same letters T and F, which I suspect they will, or if they will be different letters. And the reason I suspect they will is because T and F also have their own meaning, which is true, false. And I suspect eventually we will get a revealer, which is an answer that sort of ties together all of the theme clues. That will be about true false, I bet. Maybe we'll even enter true false into the puzzle. Although actually I don't see anywhere it would fit, so maybe not. Anyway, let's keep going. Impish sort could be a rascal. A prophet who said, "But let judgment rain down as waters, and righteousness as a mighty stream," must be Amos. Transmission repair franchise. Oh, I know this because it came up in a crossword a few weeks ago, and I think was one of the last things I filled in because it looked so odd with this double A. What was it? AAMCO? I wonder if the CO is for company. American Automotive Machine. I don't know. Location for round-the-clock monitoring in brief, an ICU, an intensive care unit in a hospital. And a numbers game could be a lotto, a drawing, a game of drawing a chance game. A backsplash installer. For what, a toilet? What is this? Not sure. Here we have another theme answer. Snitched / throw in the cards. I see this. Okay, so I do think we're going to see T and F throughout the grid. And in this case, I think snitched is told and throw in the cards is fold. And I think I haven't used this recently. I forgot this was the case, but I just remembered. If you're solving the New York Times crossword on a web browser rather than the mobile app, escape will get you in and out of the rebus mode, which is incredibly useful because it is sort of annoying to have to mouse up to it. So let's look across. We have drove a golf ball and gain strength from. Drove a golf ball. And gain strength from. Feed on, gain strength from, to feed off. Oh, I see. Drove a golf ball, teed off. Yes, I see. Hit the golf ball off the tee. Yes, got it. And Renaissance fair adjective, old, with the E. An old world spelling of old. Oldie, as some people, I think, occasionally pronounce that colloquially. Traffic lights you can't go through are, of course, reds. Nabokov title character, Ada, I think. And darn could be drat. Boris Johnson's alma mater would be, in this case, Eton, which would be the private preparatory school that Boris Johnson, our prime minister here in the UK, attended, as did many, many previous prime ministers. All right, Blank Point, California. I don't know. I'm sort of surprised I don't recognize this, having lived in California for so long. Don't know. Jamie of MASH. Jamie Farr? Dana Point, California. Where is that? I'm curious. I'll have to look that up. Jamie Farr. I can't remember if Jamie Farr is RR or AAR. I think it's probably 2 R's. Let's see if we can confirm that here. Old Spanish coins. Boy, I'm not sure. Let's just leave it blank for now. Misfortunes could be ills. Let's jump back up to the top of the puzzle. We sort of sort of wending our way diagonally through the puzzle. But let's go back up and start at the top here. Brand of imported beer, and beer spelled. Well, that's how it's spelled in French. Is it also spelled that way in German? I think it is, actually. Could be Amstel, maybe. Hack. I don't know. Probably too many things this could be. Oh, here we go. Wait a second. We have the rebus on the down, but not the across. What does that mean? That must mean it's not this. So far, and I guess it's just by chance that I've encountered this. So far, the rebus has always been at the beginning of the word, but here it must not be, because we have it applying to the down. Right. So here it is. It's 18 across. We have PC key and sitcom ET and wood nymph and independent person. So in this case, it's the last letter of this answer. And that is alt and alf. And oops, don't forget my shortcut, TF. So alt meaning the alternate modifier key on a keyboard, and alf being the weird sort of anteater looking creature from the eponymously named sitcom. So from the 80s, I think, 80s, 90s. Wood nymph / independent person. I bet tree something, because independent is free. So a tree spirit, maybe, and a free spirit. Yes. There we go. Funny thing about this Thursday, I mean, I'm finding this considerably easier than Wednesday's puzzle, actually, both in terms of identifying the theme, although, to be fair, I expected something like this on Thursday, especially after yesterday's puzzle, whereas I didn't know what I didn't necessarily expect something more complex in a Wednesday puzzle. So the expectation is slightly different, but I do think this is maybe an easier puzzle. I'll be very curious to hear if others agree, because you never know. Anyway, many work by Banksy, the secretive street artist, I guess, is a mural. To devote as time could be to spend time. All square could be even. You could say we're square, and if your debts have been settled, you're even. Oh, maybe not, though. Because this actually does look like Amstel, doesn't it? The beer brand. So if that were Amstel, what would we have here? Hack. Could be lop, as in lop off a branch of a tree, for instance. Hack it off. And Iago under Othello. Ensign. High Sierra co-star Ida Lupino. Or Ida? And all square could be tied. The king and I. Is this a G? I'd be delighted could be glad to. And so this would be an N. And the grandson of Adam, Enos, I believe. And to lollygag means to, I suppose, to idle, to waste time, to loaf. And not for me means I pass. Well, it doesn't mean I pass, but it could also be said as I pass. All right, here we have, it gives many scotches their smoky taste. In this case, Scotch whiskey is peaty. That's what gives it that particular taste, the peat. And if one felt something, I suppose one cared. I feel something about these crossword puzzles. I care. It's a strange sentence. Common default font. Oh, maybe this isn't glad to. I'd be delighted, glad to. It's something similar, though. I need to remember to not get carried away with that sort of thing, because glad to, I think, would be a valid fill here, but it's not the only valid fill, and I shouldn't have assumed it was. I think it'll be gladly, because a common default font is indeed Arial, the sans serif font that, I don't know, maybe this page is, I'm not sure. Trivial, bitty, natty, I'm not sure. Stadium souvenir, could be, petty, of course. Much better than the nonsense I was saying. And here, make in math could be R, I suppose. Sort of odd, but you could say 2 and 3 make 5, 2 and 3 are 5, I guess. Fair enough. All right, to request from could be to ask of, and let's immediately try and confirm or deny that of, just in case I run into the same situation I did up there. A bay window. Bay window. So a bay window is an architectural feature that is sort of a, I don't know what, a trapezoidal extension out of a home, three panes of what is that? What else would you call it? Let's see. One of two. Here we go. Here's actually sort of, I guess, half of a revealer. One of two options in 5 squares in this puzzle would be false, as in true and false in the T and F. So I do think that confirms the ask of, even though I didn't get the bay window. So here we have blank pro nobis, ora pro nobis. What is that? Something about gold and nobility. I actually don't know what that means. I should look that up. Yeah, sorry. Anyway, a non-primate with fingerprints that are nearly identical to a human's. Interesting. Must be a koala bear. I didn't know that, or maybe I did and didn't remember. I'm not sure. But anyway, it's interesting, isn't it? So to praise loudly could be to hail somebody or something. Oh, is a bay window an oriel, actually? Now that I sort of see it, I kind of remember that term. Does that work? Old Spanish coins, still don't know about that one. Oh, and here's another true false. So Goodyear blowout / everything must go event. So this must be a tire sale. Oops. A tire sale and a fire sale. A Goodyear blowout, meaning Goodyear tires, a tire sale, a blowout, a big sale, and an everything must go event is a fire sale. That's there we go. I mean, I don't know that a tire sale is necessarily a phrase that actually has much use, but fair enough. It's I think for these purposes, you give the constructor a bit of leeway there. Right, here's Jamie Farr. It's probably still an R. Caterpillar roll ingredient. Caterpillar roll. That must be a sushi roll. Don't know what is in a caterpillar roll. Maybe eel. I'm just guessing because of the number of letters in the fill. Does that work here? Chocolate, yeah, it would actually. Chocolate lab, a chocolate Labrador, a dog. So if this were far and this were E, I thought maybe it was going to be reals, but then it didn't occur to me there would be an E, so I didn't say it. Can we confirm that? Attacks a job with gusto. I would have said has a go, but that doesn't work. Has a try. Doesn't really necessarily communicate attacking with gusto, does it? You want something emphatic. What is that? Openings for to tell the truth. Not sure what that is getting at exactly. Brand with a paw print in its logo. I think IAMS, IAMS, is a pet food brand. I learned the other day that American consumer spending on pet food is something like 3 times higher per year than it is on all reading materials. Not meant with any judgment, just a funny fact I learned. Okay, Glasgow to London direction will be south by south. Glasgow, south by south east, I guess. Yes, and one of 2 options in 5 squares in this puzzle would be true. There we go. So we've got our 2-part revealer here. We have one of 2 options in 5 squares in this puzzle is false, and one of 2 options in 5 squares in this puzzle is true. So that I actually didn't really register when I read this that is telling us how many of these cells remain. So let's see. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1 true false cell remains. It'll be somewhere in this southwestern corner of the grid. Anyway, here we have a land-bound bird, is an emu, a flightless bird. Oh, I see. Very clever. Openings for to tell the truth. This is a bit of a pun. There isn't a pun indicator here, but I suppose it is literally true. Each word in to tell the truth opens with a T. And so if we spell T phonetically, we get T-E-E. Oh, attacks the job with gusto is has at it. It isn't has a something, which is how I was inaccurately reading the letters we have there. So that was a bit of probably unintentional misdirection on the part of the constructor. It just so happened that I ended up in a situation that threw me off track. Okay, Here we have zesty flavors and part of a Dracula costume. Tarts? No, that would make farts, which doesn't seem like part of a Dracula costume, does it? Tangs and fangs. There we go. That's a little bit more appropriate, isn't it? Okay. Country with the largest population of vegetarians, India, seems quite likely there. A lot of vegetarian cuisine in India. Okay, active digitization is scan, to scan something, to digitize it. And pen, I mean, pen could be a noun, but it could also be a verb, to pen something, to write it. I'm not sure. Oh, it could also be a cage, actually. Another noun, pen. Yeah, probably is that. Let's look here. Rapper who had an infamous rivalry with Tupac, Biggie, Smalls. I guess. Pygmalion author's monogram. Is that the Notorious B.I.G.? Which name is correct? I'm not sure. Sorry. Not educated enough about these things. Pygmalion author's monogram is George Bernard Shaw, and school board. Oh, a seesaw. That's clever. That's funny. A school board, literally a board in the schoolyard. A seesaw. And sorry, just let me see if this was anything important on my phone. No, it's fine. Darn, e.g., is to sew, as into darn socks, to mend socks, to sew them. And here we have our final true false cell. This is waterworks parts and amygdalae. This must be glands. Tear glands, maybe, are the waterworks parts. We sort of imagine that in a punny way, perhaps. And then fear gland, yes, the amygdalae, so plural of amygdala, which I do know is related to fear. So true, false here, and ear glands follows it up. And then what do we have in the cross? To lay to rest or to deduce. Infer and inter. There we go. So to infer something is, well, I guess in order. To inter a body is to lay it to rest, to bury it. And to deduce something is to infer it. And a Wagner heroine would be Isolde of Tristan and Isolde, the opera. And a tannery product, Skyn maybe? No. Zap, nuke. So zap and nuke, two colloquial terms for microwaving something. And I see, a backsplash installer is a tiler, right? So it is in a toilet, or near a toilet, as I was saying, but the person who installs it is the tiler, the person who installs tile. That makes sense. Tannery product, suets, the beef fat. I don't think so. Oh, suede. Yes, I see. Fine. What is suede? Calf leather, I think. And green lights could be okays. You green light something, you give it the okay. And let's just look at what we're filling in via crosses here. Frozen dessert, eponym, ED. That's come up a few times actually in the past month or so, I think. ED's ice cream, I guess. And this is high blank, in this case, high res, high resolution. Sometimes you see high def in the New York Times crossword as well. And will that finish it off? I think it will. No, it won't. Oh, boo. Now, the thing that's always very frustrating when you get something wrong with this sort of puzzle during the validation process is you're never quite sure if it's because you got something wrong or because you didn't enter the sort of rebus thing properly. Let me just quickly glance through and see if I see any obvious errors. I'm sorry about this. All right. Free spirit, free spirit. Oh, all right. So Andy, and I often when I go through these quickly, I'm not even really reading the clues. I'm just looking at the answers and trying to see if I can see any obvious typos. And I usually can remember most of the time what the clue was, but I didn't there. Okay. Dana Point, California. I think that's right. The crosses all look right. Reals, that looks right. Chief glands, fear glands. Well, did I enter the TF in the same order each time? TF, TF. Boy, this is frustrating. I wonder if I need to put a slash through them. I really hope the mistake. Well, I guess I just don't know. Let's try this. Okay. Wow. All right. I strongly object to that. I have to say that is quite ridiculous. So it accepted the crossword when I had a slash between each T and F, but not when I didn't. I, I think that, I mean, honestly, I think that's pretty outrageous. If I were a less experienced solver, by which I don't mean any less intelligent, I just mean if I had done fewer of these crosswords before, and I got to the end and it didn't accept my puzzle, I don't know how I would be very confused and I wouldn't know what to do. I mean, I just sort of know from experience that sometimes you have to guess the format that the constructor or the person who entered this into the New York Times software wanted. But this is, I mean, from a I don't know, from a standpoint of accuracy, I don't really consider this to be any different. I mean, qualitatively, I don't really think it's any different to having just T and F without the slash. So I think is very frustrating, and I can very much imagine there are people who just couldn't figure out how to get this crossword to validate, or assumed that they had uh, an answer incorrect in a genuine way. So that is quite frustrating. I mean, I suppose it's not it's probably not the constructor's fault, Chase Dittrich, but Will Shorts, please get on this. Please, please instruct your web team or whoever it is to be a bit more accommodating when it comes to validating puzzles with rebuses, because this has happened before, and I think it's ridiculous. Anyway, let's move on. Let's move on past that and discuss the puzzle a bit. Let's see. It was the first of these I saw was win at the Olympics / cheap jewelry material. I guess there's a slash in the answers, so T/F. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I guess it makes sense that this is the sort of canonized, correct format, but I still think it's absurd that you can't simply put a TF in there. Anyway, sorry. So this was the one. This was the one that tipped me off, and it was the first one I saw, and I think I was aided by having a G in here, which made gold seem likely because of its association. It's very straightforward association with both the Olympics and jewelry, and from that point on, I was primed to expect something a little clever or complex, especially after yesterday's Wednesday, which already was that way, and Thursday is the day when it's supposed to be the most that way of the week. Not supposed to be, but often is. And so I got to it pretty quickly. I'll be very curious to hear how quickly others arrived at this. I know that some people are not big fans of rebuses. I I really like them for whatever reason, except when they won't validate in the solution. But I really like them generally, and often I kind of predisposed to be looking and in a way almost hoping that one will pop up. So I'm probably disproportionately disposed towards finding rebuses because I kind of want to, if you see what I mean. So let me know how you fared with that. I think in general, this was actually even aside from the theme and from the mechanic of the theme, I think even aside from that, at least I personally found this to be a slightly more straightforward puzzle than yesterday. Perhaps also because it had so many fewer sports clues in it, which I suppose is something that I in particular often struggle with. So yes, do let me know how you fared. I'm quite curious. And also let me know how you fared with getting it to validate. And I think it may even be the case that sometimes the phone app has different levels of tolerance for what it will accept with Rebus puzzles to the desktop browser version. So it may even be the case that had I solved this on the phone, it would have accepted my first answer. I don't know. I'm not guessing that it would. I'm just saying I've seen that sort of thing happen before. So I'll be curious to hear about that as well. Any information or anecdotes you have, just let me know in the comments, but also about the general difficulty level of the puzzle and how long it took you to spot what was going on. And we had an unusual revealer. We had a split revealer. It was not a single answer in the southeastern corner of the grid, but rather two answers on the eastern and southern borders, perimeter of the grid. So that was interesting. And that's that. I mean, I did really like this puzzle. My only complaint is about the way it didn't initially validate, but I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed finding the theme, and it was one of those themes that once you find it, it absolutely, I think, helps you solve the puzzle because it adds such a strong constraint to these particular cells. Once you've seen, so after the first one, I didn't necessarily know it would be TF in every case, but I think after the second, it was pretty clear it's going to be TF in each instance. And once you know that, it makes solving those theme answers, I think, considerably easier because you know one of the letters and you also know a letter in two different words. So it just shrinks the possibility space of what these answers could be. Anyway, that was that. I hope you enjoyed the puzzle. I hope you found what was going on with it. But either way, I hope you enjoyed the video. And if you did, please do subscribe to the channel. I think we're starting to close in on 4,000 subscribers here on the channel, which I know is basically nothing by sort of successful YouTuber standards, but certainly the highest subscriber count I've ever had. So thanks for that, and let's tip it over the edge. We're just about there. But then let's get to 5,000, I suppose. Anyway, please do subscribe. And if you think you know someone who might like this series, maybe they can help me get to 4,000 in the next, I don't know, several days perhaps. Pass it along, or pass it along to your online community of choice. Someone there might like it as well. And finally, if you'd like to directly support this channel, you can do so by backing the Patreon campaign at patreon.com/dailysolve, where you can get all the benefits I mentioned at the beginning of this video, including a wealth of bonus solves and access to an additional channel on the Discord chat server, as well as, depending on the level at which you back, an exclusive Let's Check the Crosses mug and recognition at the end of these videos. And to that end, today, I would like to thank personally Jordan Larson, Timothy Mark, aka Bidiot Bales, Joe Percy, and as always, the inestimable Hood Monster. So thank you, Jordan. Thank you, Timothy Mark. Thank you, Joe. And thank you, Hood Monster, for your generous, ongoing support, keeping this whole thing going, making it a sustainable enterprise for me. I very much appreciate that. So thank you. And thank you to everybody else who's backed the Patreon campaign. I appreciate that as well, of course. And thanks to you for getting to the end of this video. That helps along with the subscriber count. I'm pretty sure that when people actually watch the whole video, probably helps with the algorithm as well on YouTube. So I will be back tomorrow for a Friday puzzle. That will be our first themeless New York Times puzzle of the week. We won't have any issues validating our rebuses, that's for sure. Might have trouble validating the puzzle if it's tricky and I get something else wrong, but that will be entirely on me. You'll just have to come back tomorrow and find out. I hope you do. But until that point, please do have an excellent remainder of your Thursday and an excellent remainder, I suppose, of your Thanksgiving if you're celebrating that holiday. Take care.